Coming up, I'm ready for holidays.
You're listening to Double Time, your daily accessible technology show. Now, here's your hosts, Stephen Scott and Shaun Priest.
Hey, Shaun Priest, how you doing?
What does that mean? How does that draw the audience in, Stephen Scott? Where's the hook?
Audience, schmaudience. I'm going on holiday.
They're not an audience. They're our family. Hello, listeners. How you doing?
Absolutely. Yeah, I know. I can I just say, I know there's a lot of you been in touch saying, what am I going to do for a week with no double tap?
Who?
You know what? People have been saying this.
Nobody.
Absolutely.
I've never seen any of those ever. I've seen the ones about xylophone or piano, by the way.
Oh, there's plenty of conversation around that. Yeah. It's funny. This has become... There was a meme a few years ago, I remember. I think when I was at work at RNIB, I remember there was a meme or a picture that was out on the internet, and it was of a dress. And no one could decide the colour of this dress.
Blue,
and there was like
gold,
national discussion about, is it a blue dress, is it a green dress, whatever it was, the colour that it was meant to be. I don't think we ever knew the answer to it. The piano and xylophone debate that is now raging in our inbox is unbelievable.
Well, you say raging. I think people come down on one particular side of the argument, and we'll just leave it there until we get to them. No, I don't think so, Stephen Scott.
I think absolutely our piano is in there somewhere.
Save it. It's fine.
Is that what we're coming back off break with? Is that the teaser? Is that the cliffhanger we're leaving people with?
Yes, it is.
Is it a piano? Is it a xylophone? Find out in the next exclusive episode of... Speaking of which, by the way, our exclusive this week is all about my little guide dog assessment. Mm-hmm.
Oh, is that this week? Okay, cool. Very nice. Good.
Oh, what do you mean? Is it this week? We recorded it. We've done it.
I know. I just forget it's done every week. It's confusing to me, Stephen Scott. I'm sorry.
You know we're off next week, right?
Yes, I've remembered that. I actually did write that down. So
you did not. What did you write it down? What, a stone tablet? Did you engrave it in your shed?
What's wrong with that? At least it's tactile and accessible. If I engraved it, Stephen Scott. No, I made a little note in my notepad. I've got a notes folder on my desktop here. All right.
And what did you write in it? I'm not needed.
No show on Monday.
Till Friday. Add till Friday, because you'll turn up on Tuesday. You know you will.
Did you ever turn up to school on a Saturday or, when you were off? I mean, things happen. It's part of my routine.
It's funny, though. Today does feel a bit like the end of school, doesn't it? It's kind of like, oh, that's it. We're all going to wrap up for the day. It's all very weird. And it's funny, actually. I remember I used to always go into school on the last day, and the teachers hated me for it. Because I was the only...
Because no one else went in?
No one ever showed up. No one ever showed up. And I was always the one to turn up. And, I'd be like, okay, I'm here to learn. And they were like... Ugh. And the thing was, right, you have to understand...
You must have been so popular at school.
But you have to understand the logic here, right? So when I was going to school, I lived far away from my school, so I was taxied to my school every day. I mean, it's another world. Yes. And I had to share the taxi, I will admit, with some...
Should have complained.
But
with the driver.
Yeah, so the driver was there. When am I getting a Waymo to take me to school? Come on. Or is it a Tesla now? Actually, do you know what? No.
Yeah.
I don't. The braking system's a bit unnerving for me.
We'll come back to that.
Yeah, we should talk about that actually. But yeah, so I get taxied in, and my view was always, and it's just kid logic, right? The taxi turns up every day. I have to go to school, so that was it. I went to school. It wasn't like I had no power to cancel and stop the taxi from coming.
Well,
so
you
it just
didn't
turned
have to
up.
get in it.
No, but what am I going to say to the taxi driver? Thanks for coming to my house, but go away now.
Well, you say thanks for coming, but there's no school today.
No, but there was.
Oh, I see. Oh, yeah. Well, no, actually, you were in the right, Stephen Scott. Yeah. I blame the teachers.
I'm a good boy. I am.
Yeah. Well,
I go to school.
Well done, you.
Yeah, I think I also still went to school pretty much after I left as well. Kept turning up. Hi again.
Yeah, that's just weird.
Yeah, I know it was a bit weird. Actually.
At that point, it's just strange.
I must admit, they got a bit fed up with it after a while. I think it was especially when I kept turning up in class. But I know the answer to this one. I can help you out with that.
What are we going to do over the holiday, by the way? And listeners, you'll be fine.
So I'm booking in interviews. I've got stuff to do. We've things to be doing. No, don't worry. Plenty. I think I might rearrange the office.
Oh,
I don't have my dum music. I needed that right.
Why not? Is that under D?
It's not under anything. It's just
Press D now. What's under D?
Nothing's under D.
Have you not got the sound effects online?
This is what I mean. I've got to fix everything again. It's all falling
Well,
apart.
why have you got to fix it? It was working yesterday. What have you done?
No. Right, so here's the thing. I've got E, right? So I've got E. I've got that.
Xylophone. That should be under Z.
Mr. F.
Okay.
No idea what that instrument is. And I've got A for applause. But that's it. That's all I've got.
Well, where's Cookie?
And I think I've got...
Hello, everyone. My name is Libby.
I've still got that on there. That's Libby. Remember the other
What's
day
that
we were
from?
talking about Libby and Richard?
Hello, everyone. My
Yes,
name
that's
is Richard.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly.
Hello, Richard. Okay.
This gives you a little insight into how the whole studio works here, which is just, chaos.
We haven't updated it. Okay.
No.
Fair enough. What were we talking about?
I've got absolutely no idea. Yeah, what we do in the week off. Well, look, I'll tell you. So a couple of questions I
rearranging
do
your
want to
studio.
answer. Yeah. I think I'll probably rearrange it a little bit. So people have been asking if we're going to have a dollop next week because we're off Monday, Friday. Will we have a dollop on the Saturday? At this point, I don't know. I don't think so because we were planning to take the week off.
Well, you can't
And
do
that includes a Saturday. So to me, that's an included part of the week off.
No. People have taken the time and trouble, by the way, lots of trouble to subscribe, Stephen Scott.
Oh, well, in that case, Shaun hosts the next dollop.
I don't mind a dollop. Yes, fine.
Right, well, you can do the dollop. Right,
I will
you can
do a
do it.
dollop. All right, I will.
Are you? if anything
don't take
gets
that
to
time.
air,
Right.
Tone,
Yes.
I'm telling you, I am what I do. I was a manager for a very short period of time in my life, right?
Yeah.
I learned one phrase: manage expectations.
All right.
There's not going to be a dollop. That's an expectation well managed.
Okay. You heard the boss. There is no dollop. I can't help it. I would do if I could. But
He would have.
my
but
hands
then
are tied.
Yeah. I thought you were learning Reaper anyway. It's good experience for you.
How did you know that? You've been stalking
You've
me.
only mentioned that 1,000 times every episode. How's that going, by the way? Because I'll be honest, I find Windows to be terrible. Don't you?
I'm sorry. What are you talking about? Where's the relationship between that and Reaper?
Well, what are you doing? A Chromebook? I mean, you're using Windows, right?
Yes, and you're using a Mac.
Yes.
So you
Glorious.
You can use Reaper on a Mac.
I know it. Thank you. Yes, I know. I'm well aware.
Okay.
I'm talking about Windows.
I am loving Reaper still. It's a lot to learn, as I've said before. But there is something I want to ask our lovely listeners because I'm really enjoying scrubbing, Stephen Scott.
Oh, been spilling more drinks, have you?
Thank you. I thought I'd leave you in that, a low ball for you.
I found a stain on my carpet the other day, and I cannot work out what it is. And there's no smell.
Have you licked it?
No, I'm absolutely not licking it. Because I think the dogs have been there first. That's the problem. I think they've tried to figure out what it is as well. And I don't know what it is. I think can coffee leave like a hard mark?
Yes.
Like a hard stain? Is that how coffee works?
I'm loving scrubbing, by the way, on Reaper.
You should come to my house.
Not
I've
your
got a
carpet,
stain I need to get rid of.
which is the process of being able to either slowly or at speed go through audio. Now, the way you do it is just by using the left and right cursor keys. I've been looking at jog wheels, which are these little volume, the volume knob on your old hi-fi. Same thing, just sits on your desktop, but you turn it and it will scrub through or scrub back through audio. Has anyone used one of those with something like Reaper or another app? And is it actually better than using the keyboard?
Feedback.
Yeah, honestly, let me know. Let me know of your experience because I have been looking through, and you can get a cheap one, you can get quite expensive ones, but I'm always quite nervous about ever taking my hands off that home key on my keyboard, because I'm always doing the keyboard shortcuts. And is it actually going to take more time to lift my hand, put it on the jog wheel, scrub through, find the position, than just to do it on the keyboard? Let me know.
Well, to be honest, I don't think it's even that. Sometimes just taking your hands off the keyboard's the problem, right? You kind of get a comfort. You get your hands in a position. You can work, off the keyboard. The idea of going back and forward off to another device. Look, I'm with you. I don't know if I've mentioned this or not, but I'm blind. And
where's the breaking news?
God, I said that with such confidence. That's
was very
unusual for
good.
me. I feel good about that.
You're a brave hero.
I am. I'm a hero. If I could press A right now, I'd get applause. There we go.
Well done.
Oh, I am honestly, I'm too good at this. In fact, I think my mum said if I keep this up, I can maybe one day get a career.
Did she? That's good of her. Okay. Please move on.
She said that last week. But, I think the only problem is I tried one years ago called the Contour Shuttle, which I can't remember the name of the brand behind it. I can't remember it. But basically, it didn't have software you could really, well, it wasn't particularly accessible. That was one issue. But the other issue was you couldn't get any profiles for it for specific applications. And you needed those profiles to make it work. Going in and assigning each button took a bit of work. And to be honest, I don't know if it was worth it. But I'm with you on this because, you know, there's one out just now called the Logitech Creative Console. I think that's what it's called. I've got one actually that I bought. I should give it to you. I might just give it to you, and you could see if you can get it to do anything. Well, it's Logitech, so what do you think?
So absolutely not. No, forget it then. Not interested.
You like to play. You've got more patience than I have.
Yeah, no, I don't want to deal with that anymore. I just want something you just plug in and it works.
Nothing works.
Okay. Yeah, shuttle wheel. That's the other name for them as well.
What about, hang on. What about, do you remember Microsoft had a thing called the Surface Dial?
They did. Wasn't that just for the studio tablet computer?
I thought you could buy it separately. I remember it's some weird thing to do with the screen. I'd never understood how it worked. You put it on the screen for some reason. I don't know why. The
Surface Studio was that very cool at the time, all-in-one computer, which was just basically a massive monitor, like the iMac, I suppose. But it was at an angle. You actually just leant down at it. It was like a draft.
Well, you could push it back. That's right, because you could draw on it. That was the whole thing, right? So you could use it like a canvas on.
And you could also put this little shuttle dial thing on there and use that as well on the screen. It was very cool, but I don't know. I've never heard anything else about it.
I mean, the other option is you could go down the route of some kind of external. Because there's loads of these things I've seen now where you can get. I don't know how good they are, but you know, you can get these little like packs of 6 keys or 8 key, almost like the Stream Deck from Elgato, but a bit more customizable, a bit more accessible in some ways because it's running very basic Windows software.
What's the difference between that and just using the keys on your keyboard anyway?
Well,
I might as well stick with the left and right arrow keys.
Yeah, right? Exactly. You end up in the same place, and you think to yourself, "I'm kind of creating something over here, which is okay." But then I still have to go back to the keyboard to do most of the work, so I may as well just stick with the keyboard.
Stick with the keyboard, yes.
Well, you need a keyboard with a jog wheel built in. Is that a thing?
Logitech Craft, I believe, with a K, was the first one I saw with that. Yes, it does.
As in the cheese?
Excuse me? Beg your pardon?
Craft cheese.
Is that a thing? I don't know. I've never heard of that.
You've never heard of Craft cheese?
Well, okay, I have, yes. I thought Kraft Dinner I've heard of from South Park, but that's it. Okay, yes, like the cheese with a K. But again...
Cheese with a K?
Shut up. At that time, I was only using Audacity and there was nothing that supported Audacity. All these shuttle wheels and control consoles and things like that are usually for video editing. Going through frame by frame, quickly going through Adobe Premiere and things like that. So I couldn't use them before, but now I'm learning Reaper, by the way. It does support a lot more of these interfaces. So I'm interested. So let us know.
So going back to my original question, isn't Windows terrible?
Oh yeah, sorry, I forgot that bit. No, it's great. That's all right. It's just as good as anything else.
These phases seem to happen, right? On social media, you see these people who are, the Mac is terrible. Oh, this is bad. Oh, this is terrible. And then you get Windows is terrible. Oh, this is terrible. And you go through these phases. And I think at the moment, we're in the everyone hates Windows phase. That's the one I'm noticing more.
What's the problem?
Well, I think there's a couple issues. I mean, that issue you brought up the other day about the start menu, which I only discovered myself the other day. Very annoying.
You're welcome.
When it happens to me.
Yes.
There's also a couple of other things. So, for example, this isn't specific. Well, it is specific to Windows, but not to Microsoft. So there's an issue in WhatsApp with the Hartgen. This is maybe a bit specific, but it's worth mentioning. Hartgen Consultancy did a number of scripts for WhatsApp to make it a little bit easier to navigate, to use, which I love the scripts from Brian Hartgen across a number of apps, but in particular in WhatsApp. And if you're running JAWS, you need to have JAWS to use these scripts. There are issues when you're using WhatsApp. So, for example, one command I use all the time is F1, which when you're in a message and say I want to send you a voice message, I can just hit F1 on the keyboard. It'll start recording instantly. Problem is, it's now not long. It's either not responding or it takes like up to 15 seconds to actually respond. And the same is true of using other commands within WhatsApp. Now, I don't know if this is across the board with other scripts or it's just unique to WhatsApp and that particular combination, but something's definitely not right. And Brian Hartgen actually posted up that he had a number of people complaining about this, and they've identified it down to an issue with JAWS 2025. So this is hopefully something that will be resolved in time, but this is up to JAWS of Vespero to fix.
I like the fix for this, which was use JAWS 2024.
That's right. Yeah, just roll back. And I'll be honest, sometimes we do jump too quick. I often sometimes feel I jump too quick into these newer builds. Although in saying that, JAWS 2025 has been out since the end of last year. It's not like it's yesterday's news, right? Or it's just brand new.
I'm sure they're working on that because WhatsApp's very, very popular. On that, by the way, those two problems you mentioned there, the Windows Start menu, the problem that I flagged was that you bring up the Start menu and you start typing, let's say, Edge, for example. I want to open Edge. So you start typing E and it will say, no next edit field. Oh, that's weird. Or you type WhatsApp and you get to the T and it'll say no next table. It thinks you're on a web page. So you couldn't type anything. It was really annoying. Didn't happen all the time, but enough to become annoying. Now, I did mention that AppleVis had a thread on this, and one of the answers on there was to update to NVDA 2025.1.2. And I did that, and also install the Windows App Essentials add-on. I did that as well, and it did fix the problem for me. I'm not going to say it's going to fix it for everyone, but I haven't had the issue since. But what I also noticed was that in a recent update, the NVDA version 2025.2, not 1.2, but 0.2, will have this fix built in. In fact, it will have all the Windows App Essential add-on features built into it. So, when you get that update, hopefully everything should be fine. I'm not sure about JAWS, so I haven't looked at that yet. And also, upgrading to NVDA 2025.1.2, you'll notice that a lot of add-ons no longer work or are supported. And, the add-ons are being updated to work with that, so I'm sure it'll all be fixed soon. But my WhatsApp add-on, for it giving me those same features you mentioned there from Lisi, like Control-R to record a voice message, Alt-1 to jump to the list of conversations, it was turned off. It was disabled. And I really missed it. I just went back in, I turned it back on, and it's working fine. Again, do it at your own risk because could be some compatibility issues or some protection there I don't know about. But I will say it's working fine for me. So just saying.
Yeah. And look, I kind of kid around with the Windows people because, ultimately I went into I went into the Mac this morning. VoiceOver was just all over the place. I don't know what's going on. It seems to lose the ability to jump to the Apple menu. It seems to almost bypass it now and go straight to the status menu. So sometimes you can't get to the Apple menu, and the only way to get to it is to turn VoiceOver off and on again, and then it will seem to kind of shake itself and say, "All right, okay, you want to do this." I don't know why that is. It used to be the case if you wanted to do that, you would do VOM for the Apple menu and then VOMM to jump to the status menu, but you just hit VOM once and it was taking you straight over to
it's all terrible.
The status menu.
They are all terrible and all great in their own way. Yeah, none of them are perfect.
No.
I've noticed as well. I saw a post last night. I can't remember where it was now. Saying, bemoaning the fact of the VoiceOver on the iPhone focus issues. Right? Absolutely right. Jumps around a lot. Absolutely. And how Apple need to sort this, and it's a disgrace, right?
WhatsApp, for example, most recently for me.
That is my point, right? I'm glad you mentioned that, right? So you look at WhatsApp. Now, you said this as well, recently. I don't think this is just Apple need to fix this issue. I think this is an app developer problem as well, because so few of them actually do in-depth testing with VoiceOver. WhatsApp never used to jump to that compose message text field at the bottom. Never did it to me before, but I don't know when the update came in. Recently now, I go to tap on to listen to an audio message, go to double tap, and it'll just jump to the text field at the bottom, and next my keyboard's up, and it's awful. Also, on Facebook it does it a lot as well. It will jump up to the back button just as I'm about to tap on a video or something. I'm not convinced this is an OS issue over an specific app issue. As I mentioned, a lot of the time I notice these problems come up with updates to apps. So
yeah,
I don't know where I'm going with this. I'm just saying sometimes I think we need to shout in the right direction.
Well, no, I think you're right. I mean, I think it's almost a case of, in that situation, just belt and braces, and that would be to get in touch with Apple, let them know about it, and get in touch with Meta and let them know about it.
Yeah.
In that particular example, because you're right. I mean, I've noticed, if you're trying to, like sometimes I'll start a voice message and I'll think, I'm going to start that again. And so I'll go to the cancel recording button. Now, I use split tap all the time. And it's just because I find it easier. And with the way I'm not good with the double tapping anymore on the left hand. So
yeah, we noticed.
Yes.
Anyone listening to this has noticed.
8,000 messages. But, if I sort of use my finger, just go right down to the bottom left of the screen, and then I use another, use my middle finger for that, and then my index finger to tap the screen, that's fine. If I wanted to do that whole double tap thing, I find that I'm getting to that button, and then it jumps straight to the send button. And I'm like, oh hello, that's not good. And then you have to, and then I've done, and today I actually noticed, I noticed twice it did it, where I tapped on the button for cancel record, and it jumped straight to the send. So you got to be careful with it. But where's the fault
careful.
There? Yeah, you do have to be careful, because you could be sending a message you don't want to send by accident, right?
Yeah, but
I know you can delete it and all that stuff, but
halfway through tapping and it can suddenly jump and you've tapped on the wrong thing. It's nothing to do with it's not your fault.
No, I'm not saying I'm not saying it's people's fault. I'm not blaming people.
You can't be careful about it, is what I'm saying.
Well, you can if you split tap, because then you don't have the problem. That's my point.
Okay.
You can mitigate responsibility.
I don't like mitigation.
Anyway.
I'm on shaky ground here because I don't know what that means.
Hey, that's offensive to my left hand.
Move on.
Thank you.
Quick. Essential tremor. Well done.
It's not essential to me. Okay, so I want to ask you a question.
Yes.
So the prices of Jaws seem to be going up this year, and we'll get more information about this when we come back. We're going to be talking to the good people from Vispero. Are you cheering them coming on, or the price rises? Where are you going here?
I always like paying more for something.
Excellent. Well, in which case you're going to love this. So, there's going to be price rises, and, you can find out more by going to the Vispero website. It's all very country specific as well, because each country is different in the way that, like for example, in the US, you have home annual licenses. So people pay an amount per year. We don't have that in the UK.
Why?
What are you asking me for? We don't work for Vispero all of a sudden? We'll get them on. And we've asked this question before. And
just asking.
Oftentimes the answer is given that, through other countries, they sell through distributors, and distributors often make the decision on how they're going to sell the product. Now, I think there's been a lot of issues with the home annual license in the US, one particular issue being, and we had Matt Hater tell us this issue a long time ago, where companies would buy the home annual license for their employees.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a problem, obviously, because they have enterprise pricing or business pricing, and they have home annual licensing. And my concern around this is that, there are companies that are actually spoiling it for the rest of us. Because there's a lot of people who would value the home annual license, who want to have access to Jaws at home, but they may potentially lose out because these companies, whoever these companies are buying the product, the home annual license for their employees. That's not good. Right, that should not be the case, and I don't know how that would be happening. Whether it's that they're someone in the company is buying it and then they're just expensing it back, or however it's going on. It doesn't feel the right way to do it. But it does beg the question, because obviously there's now talk of price rises for the home annual license, as well as I think the overall Jaws product for business as well. And I want to ask the question, and I'm genuinely asking this question. I'm not starting a war here. I don't want to start a fight over this. I genuinely want to know, why is it that in some places, and I've had this experience personally, where NVDA, for example, is kind of poo-pooed, and it's like, oh no, we don't allow NVDA in here. Jaws is what you want. If you want a screen reader, it's got to be Jaws. Why does it always have to be Jaws? Because what it suggests to me is that Jaws is the only application you can use in a workplace. It's like that's the official application. Why? Why is that the case? Why can't we use NVDA? Now, admittedly, in my last job, when I left the RNIB, they were starting to bring in the option of NVDA. The IT, I don't know what's happened since, but I know at the time they were saying, okay, we're going to trial NVDA. That was in 2021, right? So, I mean, come on. NVDA was pretty well baked in by that point. I mean, it was perfectly capable. I just wonder, because I had this experience before when I was getting advice for buying a Braille display. I was told at the time, and I didn't know anything about Braille displays then, still don't know much about them now, but I knew even less back then. In particular, like, who were the players? Who were the companies that I was supposed to be going to be looking at? Like buying a car, right? What's the best brand? What's the best one? what options are out there. I didn't have a clue about different brands and what they were doing. And so I was told, oh, well, Focus 40, that's the one you want. And it was only after I got it that I had a number of friends who said, oh, you shouldn't have got that one. You should have got the HumanWare one. Now, look, I know there's always going to be someone who'll say you should have bought this or you should have bought that. I get that.
Some people revel in telling you bought the wrong thing. Yeah.
But what should have happened is I should have been shown a choice. Oh, well, there's Hims, now Selvis. There's HumanWare. There's, other companies that sell these devices. And here's the options. I was given one choice, and it was basically you can have anything you want as long as you want this one. And that was what I got because I thought, okay, that must be the one to get then. I had no one to ask. No one around me could answer the question. So that was it. That's what I went for. And it wasn't a bad choice. I wasn't upset by the choice. But the point is I wasn't given any choice. This was it.
Well, okay.
And so I feel the same kind of happens with JAWS. It's like, no. JAWS is for the workplace and that's it. And we just accept that. And
well, it's in the name.
Well, yeah, but that's a marketing tool, right? Let's not look at that as like some kind of definition because it's not.
It's a clever marketing.
It's a smart way to do it, but yeah, it doesn't really answer the question.
Let's answer that one first before we get to Jules about the being pushed a specific product. You mentioned that you didn't have a clue about Braille displays at that time. A lot of the time, people don't want too many options. They just want to be told, this is the one to use. This is the best one. They don't want the choice. I'm not saying that's across the board, but I'm saying in that situation, a lot of people say, look, just tell me which is the best one to use. So I don't think it's always from a place of people pushing because they're biased towards a specific company.
I don't buy that.
It just may be, I'm not saying it's right or wrong, but I'm just saying I know a lot of people would just say, just tell me. I get that today. What's the best whatever to buy? Well, you got this, you got this, you got this. No, just tell me, what one have you got? Or what's the best one?
I understand that. I understand that.
So that's that point.
But,
anyway,
but the point is to not discuss or even offer any choices. That's the bit that concerns me. I can understand you saying after I've shown you all the options, which one's the best. You can then at least give an informed opinion across the range. We'll say, well, okay, look, let's be honest, right? For you and I, it's always going to be, okay, I want a smartphone. Should I get an Android? Should I get an iPhone? That's the question we're most likely to get these days, right? What should I buy? If it's not that, it's what PC or Mac should I buy? Yeah. And it's very hard to answer those questions because I don't know the individual's situation, how, the first question I would ever ask anybody when buying a computer is, can you touch type? Because if you can't touch type, you've got a long way to go. Because if you're going to be using screen readers, if you're going to be using that, you're going to be on the keyboard all the time. You've got to know your keyboard. So, that's the first one. So there's a lot of questions that need to be asked first. But the point is, I wasn't even getting asked questions. I was just getting told, this is a device, this is it.
I agree. Look,
I'm not happy with
agree with you. Yeah, the conversation should always take place and you see how invested the other person is into gathering information or just give me what works. I agree with you. But when it comes to JAWS, there's always been two reasons stated, I always hear anyway, why it's the best thing for the workplace. And the first one is always the amount of support, for you to be able to ring up a telephone number or whatever it may be and speak to someone and resolve issues. I will say NVDA also offers that now as an extra service, but they do offer telephone support and things. So I don't think that's quite as important. But the main thing is the scriptability of JAWS, the ability to get it to work with some bespoke, totally inaccessible call center software that I don't know why, but doesn't seem possible with others such as NVDA. And it may just be that JAWS has been around for so long that there's much more experience. There's companies out there that just specialize in scripting. So getting it to work with inaccessible or nearly inaccessible software is far, I was going to say far easier. I don't know if it's easier, but it's far more available when it comes to JAWS. And that's about it as far as I can tell. I think NVDA has matured amazingly well. Support for Office, Microsoft Office and word processors, spreadsheets is absolutely fantastic now. And as I mentioned, they do have an option for support. So, yeah, I think, it's a valid question, Stephen Scott. And I think, lots of these organizations do still push the technology that they've used for years.
Yeah. Stick around. We're going to come back to this in just a minute. This is Double Tap.
This is Double Tap. We'll be right back.
Double Tap thanks Turtleback Cases for supporting this podcast and for making some of the toughest, most ergonomic leather cases for accessible devices. These aren't gimmicks, they're custom-fitted, USA-made carry cases for the gear you depend on, including the Selvas Sense Player, Blindshell Classic 3, Mantis Q40, Orbit Reader 20, and more. Whether it's for school, work, or travel, Turtleback cases are built to protect your device wherever life takes you. Get 12% off with code DT12 and enjoy worldwide FedEx shipping with full tracking. Browse now at turtlebacklv.com. Hello YouTube, this is your obligatory message from Shaun and I to like, subscribe, and hit that bell. Did I get that right?
I think so. Ding dong, hit that bell for notifications or something like that. But the important thing is, please subscribe. It does help.
It does, right? Because I know lots of you out there are watching the show every day. We see the numbers, we know you're there. But if you hit subscribe, what it means is Mr. F is then off our back. So, I'd really ask you, if possible, to hit that subscribe button and, of course, like the videos and comment as well. We will get to your comments in future videos. Thank you so much for supporting Double Tap here on YouTube. And like and subscribe. I can't believe I'm saying that, Shaun. I feel like a modern Gen Zer.
You do.
This is Double Tap. Now, back to the show.
Okay, let's get back to this question of scripting, because I want to understand something here. I don't get this. I thought the NVDA add-ons are essentially scripts.
They are, yes.
So you can script for NVDA?
You can, yes. There just seems to be far less people doing it. And hey, maybe I'm bringing along old baggage here because maybe that scene has changed. Honestly, I'm not into it, so I don't know. But I'm just saying that was always the argument that I heard.
Now, at the moment, people who produce add-ons for NVDA, they do it for free, right?
Yes.
So there's no industry behind this, really. There's no monetization of the scripts that you can put into the app store or the add-on store at this stage.
Not that I know of, no.
Because I think there's an opportunity here, honestly. I mean, look, I'm not saying down with Jaws. I'm just saying, look, if NVDA is growing, and I think it is, it's grown into a very respectable product. And, the people behind it have done an amazing amount of work. And yeah, I know there are daily challenges and issues and bugs and all that. That goes with the territory. Every piece of software, every piece of hardware has some kind of bug in it somewhere, okay? That's fine. We can accept that. We can deal with that. But the bigger issue here is, we have one product which is being seen as the only option for workplace, and another product which is completely free. Now, I admit, mostly people who are living at home, who are not working, might go down the NVDA route because it's easier. Some might go down the JAWS route because they're used to it. I mean, like me, I started with JAWS, so I feel more confident with JAWS. But I do like NVDA. I like where NVDA is going, and I kind of just wonder if, is there something perhaps holding it back a little bit, in the sense that if it was possible for someone to be able to create add-ons and make money out of that, whether it be business buying into it or whether it be individuals paying for it, that could be a really interesting little industry for people who want to make some money and, potentially, I guess fill in that gap that you're talking about, where, you go to a company and they've got this inaccessible contact system that is used for a call center or whatever. NVDA could potentially be scripting for that, but you would need the infrastructure to go with it. And perhaps the industries, I know in the UK, there's Blazy and there's Hartgen Consultancy, and I'm sure they're not the only ones that are out there. Those are the ones I know. These two names always come up, at least where I am. So I imagine there's many, many others elsewhere. And so these industries have grown up around JAWS, right? So it's not JAWS that are providing the solution, unless I'm missing something here. What I'm understanding here is other companies are kind of picking this up. I'm sure JAWS are doing the work as well. I'm sure they're not alone in it.
No, you're right. As far as
there's like a third-party
well.
industry inside that industry as well. And I'm just wondering if NVDA could do the same, or is there a reason why they don't?
I don't know if there is a reason, but I think it is a good idea. Absolutely. And you sort of, even if it's just a cottage industry
Yeah.
of individuals being able to create something, I found an app that isn't accessible. Let me try and fix it. Here you go. You can.
Well, I suppose I just think about the entrepreneurship possibilities, right?
Yes.
There's a lot of blind
Yeah,
people
yeah.
who are at home, who are coders, who are, potentially able to. I mean, look, I'm on Mastodon, right? The world's biggest nerd network. And, these
Oof.
people, they are
Making
so.
friends.
These are smart people,
Yes, they
and a
are.
lot of them are maybe at home and are writing these add-ons or scripts or things. And I'm blown away by the capability of these people. I am
Yeah.
blown away. And I think we should be harnessing this in some way, that somebody should be harnessing this to make, these people make money. It shouldn't be giveaway.
Look, I'm talking
I mean, look,
about this.
Brian Hartgen's a perfect example of this. I think about the
He
WhatsApp
is.
scripts. Now, you've
Yeah.
got the WhatsApp add-on there for NVDA.
Yeah.
Now, if I want the WhatsApp add-on for JAWS, if I don't buy Lisi, I can buy the WhatsApp scripts. I've got to pay for them. At least I think I do. They may be
Yes.
free. I don't know. I think you pay for those. Forgive me if I'm wrong in that, Brian, but I think that's correct. So, let's imagine a world where you just do, right? If you don't, you do, right? In this moment. So you got to pay for this script in order to use it with JAWS. Okay? Why can't that be the same for NVDA and the person that created that WhatsApp script? I think it should be the same. People should have the option to make money out of that. Now, I'm not saying everyone's going to, it's £100 a script or whatever, $100 a script. I'm not suggesting that.
It's not down to you to set the price, Stephen Scott.
Well, exactly. It's up to the individual, and it could be a fair price. And even if it was $10,
Mm-hmm.
that person, enough people buy it, that could be a nice little income for someone.
I agree with you. I totally agree with you. I think add-ons are almost the lifeblood when it comes to a screen reader. The ability to add those features, and it works both ways as well. But between JAWS or you see a feature on another screen reader, you think that'd be really cool if we had that. Well, maybe someone can write a script to enable that. So, yeah, I totally agree with you. I would even go a little bit further. Is it time for NVDA to ask for a subscription? Where's the NVDA annual subscription scheme? How many times
that's
have
an
you
interesting
donated to NVDA? I'll be honest, I've done it a few times, but not very often.
I say twice.
First
time I ever used it, because I felt I actually really liked what I was using, and I say the first time, I mean probably first proper time, because I was plenty of periods I downloaded it and installed it and never really bothered with it. I kind of just felt I don't understand this, and then you and I had a session one day where we just sat down and you showed me, okay, here's the sort of basic navigation, and once we did that, I felt a lot more confident with it. I understood it. There's a similarity across it, like
Of course there is.
there's a lot of similar kind of keystrokes and things, so you can kind of quickly get your head around it. If you come from JAWS especially, you can definitely pick it up fairly quickly. And I thought, okay, I like this, and that's when I did the first payment, and then I think I gave them $10 recently because I just felt, okay, why not? It came up with the donation thing, and I said, you know what, okay, but never since. And would I pay for it every? I mean, if you said to me it was $50 a year or $50, maybe not a month, but it's maybe a year.
I wouldn't do a month, right?
If you said $50 a year, I'd probably pay that.
Yeah, I would. I know I would. So, is that the way to go?
Well, look, I suppose we start off talking about JAWS and then we talk about NVDA, and it's hard not to talk about one without mentioning the other, because at the moment you're in a situation where you have a free option and you have a paid for option, and that price is going up. Now, wherever the price lands, everyone's struggling at the moment. Everyone's making decisions about where they're going to go next in terms of what they're going to pay for. The media companies are the first to notice this, right? Because usually the subscriptions like those kind of Disney Plus or Apple TV Plus or Prime Video, these are the things that tend to get cut because you think, well, look, do I really need to be paying this? I can't afford to go this. You're always looking at the money. I look at my bank account and I go, right, I'm paying for this. Do I really need this? When was the last time I watched that show? Yeah, I think I'm going to get rid. And right now we're in the situation when it comes to screen readers that someone could be saying, well, I'm paying this amount of money. Granted, it might be a monthly fee or they pay it up front over the year. And they look at it and they go, okay, well, NVDA kind of does most of the stuff I need and it's free. And I could donate some money, still feel good about myself, and I still get the same product, essentially, as far as they're concerned. I know it's not the same product. Don't start writing in. I know there's differences. But the point is, I want to understand those differences a bit more. I want to understand it. I want to feel like I'm understanding what is requiring me to spend the money as an individual. I'm not talking about business, although I think there is a question there. I think business needs to open up a bit more to NVDA, if I'm honest, because I think for a lot of people, this is more than just the company itself, okay?
Which company? I've lost track. Which company are we talking about?
Okay, so I'm talking about companies that are employing blind people.
Okay.
So, and when I say company, I'm kind of talking about Jaws here, right? So Vispero. So this is more than just Vispero. If you've got a company that's employing a blind individual, you've got someone who's bringing them in, and let's say they need to get funding. Now, of course, as we've said many times, it's different in different parts of the world, but you need to get allocated funding. Now, in the UK, for example, right now, there's a long wait to get your funding through. That could mean you could start a job and not get any money to buy any equipment, to get a braille display, to get a screen reader, to get anything.
Yes.
For maybe a year. I mean, I know people have waited 2 years.
Yeah.
Meaning they can't do the basics. Or I knew someone who actually went through a period of 7 months where they were using the 40-minute mode. That would drive me insane.
Yeah.
Because can you imagine every 40 minutes, you got to restart your computer, you got to go through that whole thing again. I mean, and go open up all the applications you had to open up and carry on with your job.
I spoke to someone
Absolute
just
nightmare.
last week in exactly the same situation, and who's quite senior at a bank, actually.
Yeah.
Exactly the same. And the IT department had not a clue how to resolve the issue.
No.
Absolutely ridiculous.
And that's the problem, right? So in that moment, because the answer is Jaws in the workplace, you can't just say, hey, I'll just install NVDA and then at least you can get on. Because at least that, okay, if you really want Jaws, that's fine, but you get something. But if the argument is, well, you can't have NVDA because it's open source, so there's not enough support, or we can't script for some system we don't use. You know what I mean? It's just like, I think we've got to open up a bit here on this. Because the problem is that if the conversation is Jaws is for work, that's great. But in the reality out there, for a lot of people, I mean, it's not only that. You know, you might get a version of Jaws. You're not guaranteed you're going to get the update. Because that might require more funding to get the update. You might,
true.
Just because you get Jaws 2022 doesn't mean you're going to get Jaws 2023 or 24 or 25. Because that costs more money. And it kind of makes you wonder if that's what, I mean, I don't think it's entirely this. I think there are companies who are, seeing the home annual license and saying, hey, listen, Mr. or Mrs. colleague, just buy that on your own credit card and just expense us for it, and we'll just write that off, and that's fine.
Is that wrong though?
And you know what? For the customer, they're going, well, this is great because I get the annual license, I get the updates, I don't have to worry about what version I'm on. It's all working for me. It's great, and I'm in control of that, and that's wonderful. But that's not obviously good for Vispero, and that's causing them challenges, and that might be causing them financial challenges. So
yeah, okay, so let me clarify something there, because I shouted out, is that wrong, right? Of course it is on their current pricing structure, but if we simply had Jaws the screen reader as a set price, whatever that is, right? No matter if it's for home use or enterprise use, whatever. And then for the extras, such as, you pay for support like NVDA are doing, then it wouldn't be an issue, right? People pay for the screen reader per license anyway. So why would it matter if it's being used in enterprise or at an individual level?
So are you suggesting that we have one license?
We have one license
price
for the screen reader. Now with that, you don't get any support. You just get, hey, download Jaws, use it on one computer. If you want another one, you need to buy another license. But it's always the same price, standard price. Doesn't matter why bet more for enterprise.
Well, I guess, like we've said before, these companies are small. In terms of the number of users they have. I'm talking about Vispero here. I'm sure if they were here right now, they would argue, well, look, we have a smaller user base than say Microsoft does. So, we have to charge out more accordingly to that. And the reason the price is higher, you got to put that question to Vispero. Okay? Why is the cost so high to enterprise versus consumer? But at least, I will say this, at least Jaws came up with the home annual option, which was good for a lot of people. I remember when it came in, people were overjoyed that it came in.
Yeah,
it just feels like
absolutely.
there's people abusing it, and that's part of the problem here, right? People are abusing it, and they're taking it into business, and that's wrong. If that was to cause the fall of the home annual license, that'd be a real shame, and I think it would open the door to a lot of people saying, well, NVDA looks like a good option. And
Well,
I think in some ways
that's the thing.
so it's like that problem, what seems like a really small problem, could actually exacerbate a major issue for Vispero and be great news for NVDA. The question is NVDA ready for that kind of, that kind of user-based growth?
Yeah,
Is it capable? Is it ready for that? Could it be ready to take on the challenges of corporate and all the other stuff that comes with it? I mean,
Well, it's not only
there's a
that,
lot of question marks here, right?
There, of course. Look, and there's a lot of stuff here we don't know the details about. But if someone who's been using JAWS for 20 years suddenly switches over to NVDA, that's when they say, yeah, but it doesn't do this, or it doesn't do that, or it doesn't. It may be just a case of, it's done a different way in this different software, but it could be a case of, no, you're right, it doesn't do that. So you don't actually know what the differences are.
But then that's multiplied by thousands of people.
Yes.
And that becomes, and can my question is, can NVDA support that? That's the question. I go back to this email we got. This is all where this kind of came from, if I'm honest. We got the email in from Rebecca recently, and she had made the point about federal funding in the US and the challenge that it might cause or have towards accessible technology or assistive technology companies. And it got me thinking. This is what got me thinking about it, because I'm looking at all these companies like Humanware, and I know Humanware are based in Canada, but they obviously sell hugely into the US, and they all do. Major funding. I mean, major funding went into the Monarch, for example, as a result of American Printing House for the Blind working with Humanware to develop this thing, and then a huge federal funding grant which got that, to many people. If all that money starts to dry up through, political ends or two political ends, whatever your view on that is, I'm not getting into the politics of it. I'm just saying, if that federal funding as a result of the politicians in charge dries up, what does that do to these industries? Because, the question that Rebecca asked is, can any of these companies, doesn't matter who it is, can any of these assistive technology companies survive without that federal funding? Because we've heard time and time again, well, the cost is the cost because of the small amount of people we have. And, we have business pricing. And, a lot of companies don't have consumer pricing. They have one price, and that is for a Braille display, a large price. It's not being offset by anything.
No, we're back to this
age-old. It can't all be back to corporate again. Your corporate then has to carry the burden, I suppose. But then, is that feasible as well? I think for the first time in a very long time, we're on very shaky ground when it comes to our assistive technology. I felt we were going through a period of, over the last maybe 10, 15 years, of just growth in terms of interest, excitement, dedication by companies, dedication by business, government grants coming in to support products and projects. And it seems not only is the money drying up, the interest is dying up. I read a report recently. I'm not hugely into the whole gaming world, but I was reading a report recently on the number of companies, games companies, who are now starting to cool their heels, let's just say, on the number of accessibility tools they're putting into games, partly because when those companies have to make cuts, the accessibility teams are the ones to go. And this is a problem. This is a major problem. I think we're facing a major moment here where funding is drying up, interest is starting to get,
it's a perfect storm,
less.
I think.
It is a really, really perfect storm, and not in a good way.
No, of course. The funding is the first thing. And then the shift in attitude we're seeing across the board, towards disability is concerning. You're absolutely right. Yeah. I don't know what to say to make you feel better about it. It's just a worrying time.
It is. So I go back to my original question, which is around JAWS itself. And again, this is not to be down on JAWS. I love JAWS. Look, if it wasn't for JAWS, I wouldn't have a job. That's God's honest truth. I wouldn't have had a job because I would have lost my job. Now, you can go back to the premise of the question being, why was it JAWS that was the leader in that? Because someone told me it had to be. Right? So, it has to be JAWS. There's no other option. Even though there's a screen reader built into your PC, even though there's a free one out there called NVDA, which is third party, and there's this other one called JAWS, but that's the one. And why is that? Why is that the case? And I just think, and I wonder if Vispero are going to have to make this case more and more and more to fight off these kind of concerns around, well, okay, look, if there's an option over here that's free, maybe we should just go down that road.
I agree with you. And I'm sure they've been thinking about that for many, many years anyway. But if there is a price increase and if the subscription, which I think a lot of people, as you mentioned, so many people were so excited by that because it gave them access to it when they wouldn't be able to afford it otherwise. Yeah, you're right. If that goes away, I'd be interested to see what happens.
Well, I don't know if the price. I don't think home annual will go away. I don't know what's going on over there, right?
Yeah, but
I know
it's still only the US right now, right? Well, why, the whole
Canada as well.
distributors-
Canada has it as well.
Yeah.
But the question is, if there's a price increase, however much that price increase is, let's say it's $50. I don't know, but let's say it's $50.
Mm-hmm.
If that's an increase, people are struggling right now. They will make a decision. And it may be the case they say, well, do you know what? I was kind of toying with the idea of getting rid of this because, $100 is a lot. Actually, you know what? 150 is just too much to bear. I'm out. And they go off to NVDA, which is the most likeliest course. They're not going to go to narrator. I don't think. Some people might. I don't think they would. I think they would at least have NVDA on their system. So, I think that's where, and also, in some ways I think, could Microsoft solve this for blind people just by buying Vespero? I said this like 10 years ago. Why doesn't Microsoft just buy Vespero and just build it into the Microsoft system? Wouldn't that be the greatest idea ever? I mean, okay, it would absolutely kill NVDA, but, I don't think that's necessarily the worst thing in the world to happen, right? I mean, that would be a cool thing.
Well, whichever one they buy, it would be great.
Well, that's true. We could buy
the
either
point
or.
is, in theory, that's great. But as we just mentioned, in practical terms, it almost seems like when it comes to accessibility, it's almost seen as a luxury rather than a necessity. And, when times get hard, it's the first thing they cut.
Well, to clarify that from me, I think what I'm thinking is, yeah, I get it. But what you're talking about is companies, I would say, outside of the Apples, the Googles, the Microsoft. I don't think they see it
Really?
that
No,
way.
I don't think so at all.
I don't think they see it that way. Now, are there people in the companies that feel that way? Absolutely. I'm sure of it.
Yep.
But in the accessibility teams themselves, the ones that are actually
of course not.
pushing
No.
against this,
Yeah.
I think about Jenny LaFleury, I think about Sarah Herlinger, I think about Christopher Patno. These people are constantly pushing and pushing and pushing to be heard in these companies, and rightly so. Now, they of course would say they are heard, and I can hear the arguments, but I would say they are pushing to be heard because the teams are smaller.
The teams are amazing.
And they're incredible.
But that's what I'm saying. When times become hard and there's pruning to be done, I think accessibility is always seen, we can lose that.
But so isn't the answer to all this actually, bringing companies together, actually, merging up? NVDA, Vespero, Microsoft, a gigantic mush. That's not what we'll call it, by the way. We'll call it something else.
Yeah,
but,
dollop even.
No, dollop's taken.
It's a different thing, though, right?
Do you know what I mean? No, I'm kind of being serious in a way, right?
Vespero is a business, right? It's there to make a profit, and good luck to them.
Yeah.
The whole mission...
Making profit's fine, but, as long as there's profit to be made.
The mission statement for NVDA, and I mentioned about, why don't they charge $50 a year? Well, because they want free access to technology for everyone. That's the whole point it was started in the first place. They want the ability for anyone to use a computer for free. So it sort of goes, behind their ethos, really.
Well, look, we haven't even talked about this, but one argument, which is a kind of old argument, why are we paying for JAWS? Was ultimately one of the questions I remember asking myself many, many times.
Because no one else was doing it at the time.
Yeah, well, that was ultimately the answer. That's why it became an old argument, I suppose. But, there was that question mark of, why am I paying for this? Why am I paying for accessibility?
Kind of brings us back to the start of this conversation. Your question of, why are we paying for it now? I suppose the question is, when there's other options out there. And there must be a reason for it.
Well, a lot of people love it, and I'm certainly not doing it down. I think JAWS is fantastic, and I love it. I think NVDA is fantastic. I'm not one or the other. I'm kind of ambivalent on both. I think
Narrator is fantastic.
I think Microsoft could do something really clever here, and it could save the industry in that sense. It could save this screen reader world by bringing in those companies.
Save the screen reader world.
I think that would be interesting. I don't know what Vespero think about that. They may hate that idea. Microsoft might hate that idea.
How many
I don't know.
zeros? Look, the reason I mentioned the accessibility as a luxury is because if Microsoft did that, then that's an ongoing thing. As we all know, the amount of updates when, accessibility errors come in with a new app, a new service, a new OS, there's a lot of maintenance work that needs to be done. It's a commitment, an ongoing, both financial and, when it comes to labor and everything. It's a lot of commitment to get a screen reader keep functioning. I'm not sure Microsoft are committed to that.
Well, they would be if they bought a company that did it.
Well, where's the profit?
Well, they don't make profit off Narrator. They don't make profit from other accessibility tools.
No, it's true.
When
When was the last time Narrator was updated with anything significant?
Well, that's not an argument to say they shouldn't buy a company.
I'm just saying,
actually the perfect argument to say they should buy a company. If you're not going to invest, I mean, look, Narrator has always been the poor cousin. Whichever way you look at it, it always has been.
Absolutely.
And as I said before, is it because it's hidden by the light of, it's hidden away from the light because of JAWS, because of NVDA? They've kind of shadowed it. So it's never really had the chance to develop. It's never been able to get a developer community really behind it because everyone's focused on JAWS and NVDA. So, I think that's partly the reason why Narrator's never really grown up, because there's almost a sense of we don't really need it to grow up because there are other tools out there. And I think that's a mistake, actually. And I don't know if necessarily bringing and putting as much effort into Narrator really helps the situation or makes it worse. I see, how many times have I said this? I see a company doing something, I see another company coming along doing exactly the same thing, as if, no one has actually realized there's another company over here doing the very thing you're doing. We don't need more companies doing the same thing. We need less, and we need them doing them well.
Really? Less choice? What are you talking about, Stephen?
I sometimes think you need less choice. I go into a shop nowadays, and it's like 18,000 types of jam. I don't need 18,000 types of jam.
You were just complaining that the access to work didn't give you enough choice about the Braille display. Now you say you want less.
I don't want 18,000 jams. I want 3. And I want more than one.
It's not quite as black and white as it first seems, right? Oh, this is expensive, this one's free. Of course, then everyone should use the free one. It's not quite as simple as that.
We're out of time, by the way, you know that.
Oh, Sorry. Well, let's carry on.
Go. Listen, thank you. It's been fun. We're off for a week, and we look forward to... Yeah, I've enjoyed this conversation, though. I'll look forward to picking up this in... Birmingham when we go to Site Village. That's it for today, though. Have a great weekend. Don't forget the dollop. It's available on the exclusive feed. Get that at doubletaponair.com/subscribe, and we'll catch you in a week's time. Have a great week, guys. Shaun, have a nice holiday.
I will do. See you at Site Village. Bye-bye.